Mm. Welcome back to lesson 3, part 2. We have been making our way through those verses 8 through 14 is where we left off, and we're going to pick up on verse 15. Now, remember that this is the woman talking, but she is quoting what the man has told her. So this is a good word. So he has been calling her out of her isolation. And here we pick up in verse 15. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyards, for our vineyards are in blossom. All right. So here we see this is him giving instruction. And so what is one thing that is so neat about studying a whole book of the Bible, it really helps you hone in on the context and who is speaking to who. Because I have always just read this verse as this is the charge to couples, is to catch the foxes. And while there's a lot of truth on this, I think diving into it deeper has been very helpful to me. So remember, this is the woman quoting what the man has said. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyards. So he has asked her to do this, to catch the foxes. So before, I'd always read it as they were both being charged to catch the foxes. But here we see plainly, catch the foxes for us. He's asking her to do this. So the foxes are going to go around and they're going to steal what? The fruit, right? Those little blossoms off, like the things that are enjoyable in their marriage. So this is important. This reminded me of Proverbs 4:20 through 27. My son, be attentive to my words, incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape from your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and healing to all their flesh. So this reminded me of the first part, right? The woman has done this. She's hidden this man's words in her heart and she's trying to keep them. Continuing on in 23, keep your heart with all vigilance. And I circled vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you crooked speech and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet. Then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. So why did I circle vigilance? I think this is saying the same thing, right? Catch those foxes. Be vigilant in protecting your heart. Be vigilant in protecting our relationship. Remember the words of wisdom. Walk in the straight path. Ponder the path. Protect us. And so, it is, as we've been working through this, looking at how this is speaking to our relationship with Christ, we have great responsibility in our own sanctification. God is sovereign and it is his work in us, but there is a call to vigilance, a call to effort on our part to seek out and to be smart, to ponder the path, to protect what's important. Okay, and so we see that he has asked her to do that. I also think a lot of times, like just knowing how most women are and how we're wired, we're more relationally wired than men a lot of times. Now, when we go back to the human portion of this, a lot of times things are going to hurt my feelings that Wes does not even know about. Not even on his radar. And the man's asking for help. Catch these foxes. And I think this especially speaks to my own part in life. I know that one example of the little foxes, when we were in quarantine and we were both working from home all the time, Wes's job is to find problems. And so he's not out in the field finding problems. Guess where his mind went? He finding all sorts of problems at home, and specifically with me. He's also a verbal processor. And so if he says something, it's just observation. But what I saw myself doing is the opposite of what this woman was being called to. This woman was being called out of the cleft into safety. And what I noticed myself doing is retreating big time. Like, I do not want to be around you because I feel criticized at every turn. But instead of vocalizing that, what did I do? Just tried to ignore it, right? And what happens? Bitterness, contempt rises up in our hearts, and then eventually the explodes, which was not the godly thing to do. So first I had to evaluate my own heart, like, well, what is leading me into sin? And it led me to a little fox, right? The initial problem isn't that big. So I came to Wes and said, hey, like, this is a thing. And I need you to just give me some freedom with stuff that I'm doing and not share your opinion on everything. And he did better. Right? He's growing in this. But I'll give you one silly example. One day I was trying to cut corn off the cob and it was extremely hot. And so I had like just a plate and a pair of tongs and this hot corn and the most useless knife ever, and was trying to cut this corn off, and it was a hot mess. And he came in the kitchen and he peeked and he looked and he just went and just walked out the room. I was like, that was gross. So we talked about that FAT acronym: faithful, was it available and teachable. And so that was just a braggable moment. My husband was teachable. He was available. He heard me. And then he said, yeah, this is not something I need to speak into. It's going to drive me crazy if I watch it. So I'm just going to exit the room. So growth, but to watch ourselves spiritually. Where are we falling into those pitfalls? Where can we set up safe parameters to guard our enjoyment of each other and our enjoyment of the Lord? All right, 16 through 17. Beloved, my beloved is mine, and I am his. He grazes among the lilies until the day breathes, and the shadows flee. Turn, my beloved, be like a gazelle or a young stag on cleft mountain. So here it's another transition. So she had been quoting him. Now she is talking for herself again. And she re-sings that same thing that we saw at the beginning of verse 8. I'm my beloved's, he is mine, we are each other's. But then I liked this little play on words she does. He grazes among the lilies until the day breathes and the shadows flee. So remember, they're in each other's presence. So this is saying he is with me. He's among the lilies until the day breathes. What does that mean? Till I'm relaxed. And until the shadows flee, right? This is a woman that deals with insecurity. So his presence is comforting. She is beginning to relax and rest, right? This day is restful. The day breathes, rest in him, and also fight those shadows. Where the shadows happen? In our minds, right? So she's fighting back the lies with his presence. And then he's asked her to come out of the cleft, and then she's going to ask him again, turn, my beloved, be like a gazelle or a young stag on cleft mountains. So come out of those cleft mountains, dear. I'm going to come out of the cranny. You're going to come out of the cleft, and we're going to be face to face. We're going to turn to each other. All right. So that was the easier part for me to study. Now this dream, it was tough. It was tough. But what was helpful is studying, like I've said earlier, this as a whole and looking ahead and what it can and cannot mean. So we just had kind of set up that they had been dating, right? They went on the picnic, and we've seen some kind of proposal because he's asked her to come away with him. And now in the future, if we fast forward to the end of chapter 3, he arrives for the wedding. So there's going to be a wedding before. Now, at the end of the book, we know that they don't fall into temptation. Okay, she says, I'm a wall. Okay, she did not fall. So in between dating, being engaged, and getting married, she has this dream. Maybe on the night before her wedding. Does that surprise you that she might have a bad dream right before they get married? Nope. Kind of works that way, doesn't it? High stress, weird dreams. So keep that in mind. This is not a good experience in this dream. This is a nightmare. And so the things that are happening in this, though, are not real, and they are very scary to her. And she ends it with a warning. Okay, so we'll get there. So starting chapter 3, I'm going to read 1 through 5. On my bed by night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The watchmen found me as they went about in the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held him and would not let him go until I had brought him into my mother's house, into the chamber of her who conceived me. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the does of the field, that you not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. Oh, okay. So let's get into this. So, verse 1, I sought him, but could not find him. Does this sound like the man we've been reading about? Nope, he has leaped over mountains, peeked through windows to find her. And so what we're seeing is those shadows that had fled are kind of creeping into the subconscious, right? That maybe, just maybe, this man might abandon me. But remember, what attracted the virgins to him in chapter 1? It is his good name. He's a man of character. And so these things that she is thinking in this dream are not true about him. Okay, so what is the lie she is believing? He's going to abandon me. Verse 2, I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. Right. So not only could she not find him there, now she has taken it upon herself to go and get him. So I'm assuming this is at night. It doesn't really read that it's at night. I don't know. I'm just reading that it's at night, that she should not be out and about. She's putting herself in danger. Why? To try to scramble and find him. And we will see as these verses go on, it seems like a desperation in her climbs. Okay, so sought him, couldn't find him. Now I'm out in the city and I'm searching the street, but I cannot find him. Okay, so we see the desperation in her with this. Verse 3, the watchmen found me as they went about in the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? So now she is desperately asking strange men to help her. Does this not, this reads very fearful to me. It reads very panicked to me. Anybody and everybody who could possibly help me, I'm reaching out for help, whether it's a good idea or not. We will find out that these watchmen are not nice guys later on in the book. Okay. So I wrote down this verse. Remind me of the 1 John study. 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but for perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. And so what you have in healthy, loving relationships is a thing called trust, where if there is a separation for a period of time, I'm confident in who that person is, that when they can, they will return. And we don't feel that with her. She's not experiencing that perfect love in this dream that, oh, my man loves me. Remember, I'm the lily, everybody else is the thorns, and he'll be back. Okay, so these old insecurities are welling up in her through this dream. Proverbs 3:5-6 says this: trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Okay, so here we see she is leaning in on her own efforts, and instead of trusting the king. Okay, so will this man really leave her? He represents Jesus, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. No, he is faithful. I just love this promise from Hebrews 13:4-6. Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled, for God will judge the sexually immoral and all adulterous. Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Right? The Lord will never leave us, never forsake us, and he is our helper. And so he casts out fear. Now, why did I read the verse 4 and 5? I think this is important too, because, we are people and people are sinners, right? And so this is teaching us a lot about human marriage as well. And with best intentions and best prayers, some people do fall in sin. Okay, so it warns, okay? A warning to keep your marriage bed undefiled, but a promise from God too in verse 5, for God will judge the sexually immoral and adulterous. So why bring that up? Okay? We can't control people. We can't control tomorrow, but guess what? God is still judge, and we can trust in him that he will judge even those things that could be most painful. And there's a warning about keep your life free of money. Another big area where people have fear and anxiety. Trust in the Lord. He is your helper. He is with us. He will not forsake us. He will provide for us. All right. So verse 5. And this is going to, part 2 is going to be a lot shorter than part 1, which some of you are probably grateful for, but move through that part quickly. So verse 5 of chapter 3, I held him and would not, this is still in verse 4. It's all right. Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held him and would not let him go until I had brought him into my mother's house and into the chamber of her who conceived me. Woo! Woo! Okay. So I'd read some commentaries, and I'll be honest, I did not agree with those commentaries. Okay. So here we see the theme of this dream is that this is a bad dream. And she ends verse 5, I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the does of the field, that you not stir up or awaken love until it pleases. So this dream did not resolve happily to cause this kind of warning out of this woman to her friends. So let's talk about this. So she finally finds him. And then what's she do? Clingy, right? The fear is still there. I held him and will not let him go. When we look back on the other embraces, who's embracing who? He's embracing her. And what is she kind of doing? Right? Hand behind the head. She's resting. This does not sound like a restful woman. This is a fearful woman. So out of fear, I'm not going to let you go. I'm going to be really clingy and needy. And then I am going to bring you back to a place we should not be because we are not married yet. Right? We looked at the commands in verse, let me find it. In verse 10, he commands her to come away, right? Not go back to mama's house. Come away, right? With him. and follow him. Here we have the opposite reaction. I'm going to cling on to you and you're going to follow me. So she's not leaning in on not her own understanding. What is she trying to do? She is out of fear doing the exact opposite of what she's supposed to be doing, which is catching foxes. And ladies, this is a good truth. Fear of abandonment and fear of loneliness can lead us to some really bad places. Places we don't want to go. What happened in this bedroom? She was conceived. No. So she wakes up. And I need to tell my friends, hey, this was a nightmare. But what kind of man was he in the dream? One that she had to chase down. One that wouldn't come when she called. One that she had the fear of being abandoned. And so she would have to work for that affection. And what she's warning is, girlfriends, no. Because what was my nightmare might be your reality. Do not awaken love until it's time. Until it pleases the Lord. There is safety in righteous living. There is safety in it. Okay. So in your notes, we have some reflection questions that I would love for you to take time and go through. And then also personal study. Now, we are going to start back up in chapter 3, verse 6. And so this is the wedding. So it's kind of a big deal. Please take your time. Okay? Please take your time. Lots of poetry going on in these. We might not get through all of 4, but I would like, if you have time, to go ahead and study all of 4. Okay? All right. Happy reading and praying. I'll see you guys in lesson 4. Bye-bye.